Well, we're joined now by Bushra Othman, who is a general surgeon on a volunteer mission with the Palestinian Australian-New Zealand Medical Association. She joins us from Gaza City as well. Thank you so much for being with us here. Now, we keep hearing that the healthcare system is overstretched and barely functioning there, but can you just explain what that actually looks like? Just talk us through what an average day is there now.
Thank you so much for having me on. I mean, I think there's a vast difference that I've noticed between when I was last here in December and January and then now back here again. I mean, we're talking about healthcare workers and medical staff that have been stretched thin beyond the endurance and limits of what any human should be able to suffer through. We're talking about operating theatres throughout all of the different hospitals in the Strip, working 19, 20, even 24 hours a day constantly, dealing with the injuries and the fatalities, especially from these so-called aid distribution sites where Israel is either firing or bombing people who have been forcibly starved and have gone to get food. It means that people are beyond burnt out. Staff are not only trying to come to work to being able to provide a service to the local population, we've had staff members had to unscrub from operations because their family members have been brought in as injured. We've had people had to unscrub because family members have been brought in as killed or murdered. It means that when we need certain supplies in urgent situations, they're not available. So whether that be gloves, sutures, staplers, packs, simple things that should be readily available in any other part of the world really limit your ability to provide care for patients here. And it also means that the scale of attacks that are happening, not just from the bombings, but also from quadcopter shots, as well as these aid distribution sites, is that there's no capacity to provide people with not even optimal treatment. I would say it's all suboptimal. We're transferring patients out to all the different facilities. There's hundreds of patients coming in. They're lying on the floor, they're in the corridors, they're outside in the courtyards. It's very, very difficult to be able to treat and assess them effectively.
Yes.
And then also what's happening is that patients will either die waiting to get into the operating theatres or will die from their fatalities because of the limited ability to give them good health care.
You touched on this, and there's rightly been so much focus on what is happening at the aid distribution sites. Can you just tell us what sort of injuries people are suffering there and how people are being killed? Because there have been accusations of people actually being assassinated while they wait for aid.
Yeah, so I mean, it's very bewildering to me that we can stand by and the world can watch this go on, where a population has now gone into their 4th month of being forcibly starved without having food and other aid brought in. And then a so-called aid distribution site is put in place. People are having to go out at sometimes 1 or 2 a.m. with limited time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, to be able to try to fight for whatever aid they can get to. And what's happening is there's a state of chaos because of how desperate people are. But we're seeing gunshot wounds either to the brain, to the chest. We're seeing young kids that have also had to go out to try to get food for their families. They're also coming in with either explosive injuries. We're talking about shrapnel injuries that are either piercing the spinal cords and making people paraplegic, rupturing eye globes. We had a 13-year-old boy the other day who'd had a shrapnel injury through his brain, tore through his right eye, pierced through his heart and shattered his intestines. And, you know, like, I'll never forget the wailing of the father saying goodbye to his son who passed away on the operating table. We're seeing really horrific injuries in the emergency department with gunshots coming in through the front of the face and going back, you know, either through the back of the mouth or through the throat or the spinal cord again. And plenty of severely life-threatening abdominal injuries as well. In the clamour of all of the chaos, people are sometimes getting run over by either the cars or the trucks that are there. So we're seeing limbs that are mangled and shattered, just really horrific injuries. And on top of all of that, you've still got bombs going off, or you've got quadcopters firing at people. And again, you know, I'd reiterate that the world's let this go on for way too long. And I can't understand how the leaders of the world have sat by watching this population endure these attacks by Israel.
Yeah, with seemingly so little action to try and do anything about it. Obviously, malnutrition, we know, is a growing problem and a spreading problem. We're even getting reports of people eating ground-up animal feed just to survive. Can you explain the lengths that people are going to? And it really is right across the Gaza Strip, isn't it?
Everyone is affected, from babies that have just been born to the mothers that are trying to look after them that don't have formula, to the young kids that are basically sticks and bones, to all of our patients who, once again, have no amount of fat on them to be able to heal from any of their wounds or their injuries, including our colleagues. So whether that be healthcare workers, journalists, people who are baking bread out on the streets. I mean, everyone's lost anywhere between 10 to 25 kilos over the last 3 months. Coffee is being made by sometimes grinding up chickpeas. They're literally using anything and everything that they can think of that could be consumed as food or nutrition. And most people, if they're lucky, will barely get one meal a day. And some access potentially to some clean water. But really, other than that, there's very limited availability of all types of food. And people have had to be very creative and ingenious and also support each other to try to be able to find something to eat to survive.
Bushra, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you explaining what it is like there, the horrific scenes that everyone is having to deal with. Bushra Othman, General Surgeon with the Palestinian Australian New Zealand Medical Association. Thanks again.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.